Any questions?
That's an if, or is that if we do that, it's like a must, we have to reimburse ourselves?
In order for the bonds we issue to maintain their tax exempt status, the bond council wants us to make sure that we do this if we intend to reimburse
Okay,
ourselves.
so it's not a.
In 2014, we had $795,000 in the bank when we went to do the roads, and we made the decision to pay all the other stuff out of pocket. So we paid freeze nickels, everything. We didn't reimburse ourselves. We had a buttload of cash. So we just paid everything out of pocket, so we never did one of these.
Gotcha.
All right? I need a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to establish the intent to reimburse ourselves.
Okay, we have a
I'll
motion.
second.
Carol's got the second. Those in favor? You could have read the whole thing.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I was trying to.
All right, now what do we need to do? We need to skip around some more? All right. I believe, dun, Brittany's up with the latest on the roads. Here we go.
Okay, I brought a PowerPoint presentation with me today.
Hey.
Yay, let's see. I want to test this and see if it'll work. Perfect. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Brittany Shake with Kinley Horn. Thank you for having me here tonight. You all know Todd. He's here as well. And then Brandon Bell is working on the design of this project as well, so I brought him along. So this is a project schedule that you've seen before. The only thing that I changed is I updated the survey line to show that it's been completed. So like the mayor said, we've completed geotech, we've completed survey. I've talked to you guys about both of those items in prior meetings. Right now, we are in the preliminary design phase. That's going to go through November. So where we are on that is next week we are anticipating submitting the 30% preliminary design schematic. The rest of this is just a reminder for you guys, trying to wrap up final design by February, going through the public bidding process in March and beginning construction in March.
I seem to remember that we had unofficially talked about trying to get the 30% in before Thanksgiving.
That's right.
That was kind of the unofficial target.
That's right. So this, let me go back to the schedule. So this schedule has actually been condensed slightly from when we originally started this process. And that was, through some conversations with you guys at town wanting to speed it up a little bit. And so we are actually a little ahead of schedule. We can give you guys the preliminary schematic, and that's partly to give you guys a little bit more time to review as well. We want to make sure that you guys feel really comfortable each step of this design.
Is this a tight timeline?
It is tight.
Well, where's the biggest hiccup in that? Delay us the most?
Getting bid documents out, the thing that is restricting us the most is that bidding phase. There is requirements in the Texas code that we have to advertise for a certain number of weeks, 2 weeks. So we've condensed that down. Typically we see 6 weeks, and we've condensed that to 4, just to give time for pre-bid meetings and things as well. Okay, geotech and survey, just a reminder to everybody what we've done. If you guys have seen any of the drilling rigs out there, that's what they were out there doing. There's probably paint marks on the road. Survey, topographic survey, I know that we've talked about that. The picture on the right is just an example of what that survey looks like. So you actually see lot lines, you start to see easements, owners, trees. It's really hard to see up there, but mailboxes, anything. That is the basis of our design, and our design is only as good as the survey is. So that was a huge step in the process. So preliminary design, we've been working on this for about a month. We received the survey back from the surveyors. What we typically do is we print out all the survey that we got, so it was 7 full-size sheets, which is a lot. It's a lot of roads. We walked the site with the town, You may have seen us walking around out there, it was really hot that day. What we do is we look at the survey, just like I said, our design is only as good as that survey, so we're looking at the survey and we're actually getting eyes on valves, on trees, making sure that it looks correct. We did find a couple of things that they missed, so we sent the surveyors back out to shoot that. We also identified in our walkthrough a couple of areas where we felt like we might want a little more information just based on drainage and some different conversations that we were having about what approach we might take to solve some of the challenges on site. We received that additional survey back, and what we do is we suck it into our computer and we put it in our line codes, and this is all for the purpose of putting it on a plan that a contractor can then take and build. We held just this week a design meeting with the town to go through some of our preliminary design, some of the challenges that we knew we wanted to get way ahead of, so we're working through those right now. Ongoing coordination, so pavement and roadway design, this is, the keystone of a road reconstruction project. So the geotech report is what informs our typical section. It tells us what thickness the concrete needs to be, what the subgrade needs to look like underneath, how far it needs to extend outside the pavement. It does essentially match what you guys had in phase 1 with minor differences that we talked about with the geotech report. One of those is the geotextile fabric. Our geotech didn't recommend that. And we talked about the difference between 6 inches and 7 inches of concrete. We decided to go with the 6 inches. Because we felt like any repairs could be done in the future in 2040 or 2050. Your section is going to be 22 feet wide of pavement. That matches pretty closely your existing section. Part of the preliminary design is setting the horizontal alignment. So once we knew exactly where those existing property lines or existing right-of-way lines were, what we did is we took a look at, okay, if we put the center line of the road right in the middle of those two lines, where will it be? And we tried to hold that standard as close as we could throughout the entire project. And the only places where we differ a little bit are where we have to make a curve a little bit wider in order to match the minimum horizontal radius that you can have on a turn. So there's some places where we couldn't meet the minimum even in the center of the road. Cases like that, what we'll recommend is putting a sign to reduce the speed. You may have seen some of those on back roads. It's done all the time, it's very typical.
It seems like, my looking at the survey work and that, with the exception of High Ridge, most of them seem to be pretty well centered.
That's correct.
They really didn't, they're not gonna move a lot.
That's
Now, I don't
correct.
know, they're 22 feet wide, but they seem to be centered pretty good. What we see, the
That's
High
right.
Ridge is a weaving, wobbling.
There's only, High Ridge, right there where it's almost a 90-degree turn. That is the one that we saw the biggest movement from existing to proposed, but for the most part, you're gonna see cleaned up edges, but it's gonna go back pretty close to where it was, plus or minus 5 feet or so. Okay, so that's horizontal alignment. Vertical alignment, in order to minimize the earthwork, the dirt that you have to move around, we try and stay pretty close to where your top of pavement is, but that doesn't always make sense for drainage purposes. So there will be cases where we either raise the road, the centerline elevation, or lower it in order to make the drainage work and in order to get it to go where we want it to go. I'll get into that a little bit more on the next slide. The two sections that you see, you guys have a copy of them in front of you that you might be able to see a little bit better. There's two typical sections. The first one on the left side of the screen is where water sheet flows off of the road towards the lake or towards the drainage area that it's supposed to go to. No bar ditches. So this is what we're shooting for as much as possible across the project. And then there are areas where there are existing bar ditches, and due to drainage, we're going to recommend putting the bar ditches back. So that's what you can expect the road section to look like in those areas. That 4-to-1 max slope that you see, that's the maximum recommended slope. Just due to maintenance and slope stability, we like to keep it 25%. Okay, grading and drainage, this is gonna be really hard to see. You guys also have a copy of this. So if you can see the areas that are yellow, those are areas where there is not an existing ditch. And so they either sheet flow or maybe it's an empty lot. That sheet flows right now, but depending on where it is, it may have a bar ditch. There's a couple of areas on there that will be the case. The areas in green are areas where there's an existing bar ditch, and we recommend, at this point in preliminary design, keeping a bar ditch with the proposed design. The areas in red are areas where there's an existing bar ditch today, and we're going to take a look to see if we can remove the bar ditch and have that area sheet flow to the lake.
Let me jump in again.
Sure.
I mean, when we did this side of town, we just put the road back. And we didn't do a drainage study or trying to, if there was a ditch, we didn't mess with anything. We just stuck on the road. So the fact that on this thing now, I mean, I don't know if you've ever done a project where someone came and said, we want to eliminate the existing bar ditches, you know, as best you can, try and design a way out of them. I'm guessing most rehabs, they just leave what's there. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's a little different. We're actually asking you to make it not only the road, but to go into the bar ditches and try and design them away.
That's right.
And I know it's outside kind of the normal scope, but it's important to us. And I appreciate you guys spending a lot of time on the design trying to make that happen. Because it is really important, I think, to a lot of us to try and get those bar ditches out of there.
Absolutely, and it's really important to us to make sure that you guys are happy with the end project and that you feel confident with what's going to be bid out to contractors. So this is just step one. You're going to have a chance to review it next week when we submit the preliminary design, and then a couple of times again when we submit the final design. Okay, so we are taking a look at drainage areas. We're delineating drainage areas. We're trying to get that water ultimately out to the lake. There are a couple of spots where we are going to recommend putting in some storm sewer infrastructure, so that's reinforced concrete pipe and Y inlets or surface drains. We're aware of some issues of ponding and flooding, and once they're sized correctly, these are drastically going to help those problems. So we are recommending that in a couple of spots. Okay, next step. So next week, we will submit to you a 30% schematic. It's your opportunity to review. We're happy to come up here and meet with you, lay out all the sheets on the table, or come out to our office and take a look at it on the computer and on our tables. So this, what you see up here, this is kind of what you can expect for a 30% schematic. So there's a plan view with an aerial image behind it so that you recognize exactly what you're looking at. It'll show you the extents of the new concrete pavement, where there will be ditches, where there won't be ditches. And then on the bottom there, you see a profile view, and it shows the existing surface. So that's the existing ground that the survey went out there and shot, the top of the grass or the top of the pavement that's out there today. And then you'll see a proposed centerline surface. So that's where the top of concrete at the center line of the road will be. And that will be how you'll see whether we're raising the road, lowering the road, or keeping it the same. Okay, then the next steps after that, after we go through the town review and address your comments, we'll move right into final design, and we have about 2.5 months to get that done. We're shooting for early February to have that all wrapped up. And once again, we'll move straight into the bidding phase and then awarding the contract and then getting started with construction. And that's all I have for you. Any questions?
The 7 or 8 big issues that we went over the other day,
Yes.
with the presentation of the 30% review and all that, there won't be any other big issues like that, right? It's just.
I don't ever want to say never. There might be. Those were the ones that we identified right at the beginning that, hey,
Yeah,
we know
they
that we
were
need
very
extra.
obvious.
They're very obvious. There is a chance. What comes to mind is driveway connections. We have not done any detailed grading to redo the driveways yet. And there could be some concerns that when we get into that final design, we're like, oh my gosh, we need to go through that. And we'll do that, we'll handle it the same way that we handle the preliminary design challenges. We'll get you guys involved and come up with a solution.
I know one of the questions, or one of the concerns, and I was joking with our public works person today, was, especially where you and Serena are working on that intersection down
Yes.
there, was that when we join all these pipes together under the street, you know, if that thing ends up being 48 inches, that's 4 feet down. Then we got, 18 and 2 feet of road that we don't, remember under Freeze Nichols, we made it halfway down the first street before we banged into the pipe that they put under the street because it was too shallow.
That's right.
So we're very concerned about, how deep, how deep that sucker's got to be on, particularly in that area there to, we don't want to hit the pipe there.
That's right. So what will help us is we haven't sized any of those pipes yet. That will come in final design.
Okay.
Once we have a better handle on what those pipes are going to look like, whether they're going to be round, whether they're going to be box culverts, we will work with you and your public works director, go out there, walk the site, try and figure out exactly what's under the road, and if we can figure out where they might be, because if there's some minor adjustments that we can do in order to avoid conflict, then we will.
What are our current roads right now width-wise? Like, did you guys not remember what?
They're anywhere from like 17 to 20 feet.
They vary
-ish.
greatly.
They do vary. The edge of the asphalt is kind of falling off.
Yeah.
It does.
The street that is unstraight is actually Woodcrest.
Yeah.
That is
It's
true.
going to have an S curve in it.
Uh-huh.
So I'll show you the design.
No
later.
speeding.
Yeah. You're not going to go speed on Woodcrest.
Not
Yeah.
You
by
can do it.
not by your house.
So for the council, one of the things that happened, so Serena, Daryl, and myself went out to McKinney to meet with them and go through some of these design issues. And one of the things that was very impressive is that you would say something like, well, isn't there a street light on there? And all of a sudden, boom, on the screen, in blue is every street light. Bang, it's there. Or you
Yeah.
say, well, how's this trained? Boom, here's the LiDAR imagery. Bang, it's up there. So they have everything at their fingertips in their office.
Quickly.
So my suggestion would be that we collectively do an off-site to go to McKinney, like we do, and then that way we go in their facility, throw everything on the table, whatever, and we can really see, because they've got the ability to pull anything up pretty much, on the spot. And it was really helpful, being able to, you just say something and bang, you just pull it right up on the screen and you can see, oh, okay, that's,
Yeah, very
So-
impressive.
it was really helpful to be able to, you get closure on stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we'll talk about that later, but, I'm gonna ask you guys at some point, once the 30% plan is done, it's probably be more efficient for us to go there and use all their resources there.
And we will
Okay.
most likely have snacks.
Yeah. Make them feed us.
Yes.
Okay, Clint, do you have any questions? You're
No.
pretty quiet. Okay. Progress is going great. I mean, it's exciting.
Good, thank you, excited.
Yeah.
Everything good?
Thank
All right,
Thank
good.
you.
Thanks, Brandon, thanks, Brittany, thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
All right, there is one other thing on the road project that's my part of the road project. Let me hand this out to everybody. I don't know what Linda called it.
It's OneDrive, that's better,
No, not that one.
but we had to pick that one.
So one of the things is probably in the next week or so, we're going to start moving the mailboxes. We're going to start with the construction. The MDD's approved that funding. Linda approved the bid today. So one of the things that's going to happen is that, so the mailbox facility here, we're just going to put our mailboxes are going to be on the back half of it. So we're going to pour a new pad. The building stays the same. We can all fit underneath the overhang, so we just have to pour some more concrete. So the current thinking is what we would do is, now that the whole town is there, we need to have a little bit of parking. So what we would do is we would square up the driveway kind of a little bit, that's a telephone pole there. So in front of the telephone pole, we would kind of square the driveway up a little bit and just make this now some parking here. We're looking at moving the fence. We're looking at kinking the fence in here. So that would be about 25 feet, is we would kink it in, and then the gate down here would move, and the gate would be up here. This gate would be recycled and sent down to the sewer plant because we need a roll gate down there. This would be a new swing gate. So we would just, and the idea here is that if you try to pull out here now, out of that end of the driveway, you got no sight lines because the way High Ridge curves back this way. You can't see the damn cars. So the idea was to kick the fence in and give you a little bit better line of sight.
So this is all concrete, is this what you're saying?
For us, we would probably just start out road base for now, but when the roads come in, like we know City Hall's driveway, we're not going to be the only asphalt in the town. We're going to end up concreting that driveway. We know we're going to. So to me, that would be the time when we would actually, square this up and turn that into a real parking spot. Parking spots are 8 to 9 feet. Is minimum. I'd say we just make them, I would 10 by 20 is a nice size spot. That gives you a lot of room. And we could probably fit 3 of them in easily, just head in, and then you still have the terminal and all that.
I'm assuming that would be okay in compliance, since all the water stuff's there as well. Distances, restrictions, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the main thing is on the fence, it's got to stay 8 feet tall.
Okay.
And mainly with the well stuff, it's not surface, it's below ground.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so we're good there. What we did is we made sure we had clearance to pull the well. So there's enough distance, if you back the well truck up, you could get up to that first well and still close the gate behind it. So the guy could leave his truck there if we're pulling that first well.
And it'll still be a big enough gate to get any like bobcats or anything through there?
Right, it could be a double swing,
Uh-huh.
that we'll be able to swing it open.
Isn't the current fence 10 feet?
The current fence, it's that roll gate, so it might be 12 feet. I don't know, it's a big, it rolls open. And we can't obviously roll with the pressure tanks in the way, but we have a spot for that. We're redoing the fence at the sewer plant, so we're reusing everything here. And Sam has already laid this out. If you want to see it, everybody has keys. There's cones up in the water plant if you want to see the layout. But basically, it would allow enough maneuvering room here. Sam's already laid it out that we can get, the idea is we can still get the backhoe between the fence and the pressure tank. So if the gate wasn't there, you could still get in this gap.
What do we do with the little door that's there?
The personnel gate,
Yeah.
Sam was thinking about moving the personnel gate to, somewhere like, I think right here. So basically you come out the mail, you move it up high. Right now it's down here, there's the sidewalk.
Right.
And that's the one that goes in the personnel gate a lot. It's kind of, I'd rather be closer to the building. But we have not approved this yet. The MED has not approved this aspect yet of moving the fence. The MED's approved the relocation of the mailbox, and when we have the bobcat, we're going to scrape it and put down road base right now. We haven't moved the fence yet. We're still trying to figure that one out a little bit. But this is the current plan, and the mailboxes are moving very soon. Okay? And that's, again, the MED is working on that. We appreciate your help with that.
So does the U.S. Postal Service, they have to be the ones to move it?
We own the mailboxes.
So we move it just on the computer.
I've talked to the postal people and they're ecstatic. Well, the people that actually deliver the mail, the people will allow them, good luck. But the actual postal delivery people are ecstatic about having it in one place and having it under the roof. So not standing out there on High Ridge in the elements. And I think Cheryl is working with Lynn, I think, on moving the, either moving it or getting a new bulletin board, right?
Yeah, we're waiting on your diagram here.
Okay, yes. Okay? All right, very good. So that's my update on the concrete road project. Okay, you guys gonna stick around?
I think we're good.
I think you're good, yeah, I was gonna say, we appreciate you coming out.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out, Greg.
Thank you.
You guys.
See you later.
Thank you. Okay, next up is the consideration of the adoption of the amended thoroughfare plan. Okay, so we have been meeting with Andy, and we talked quite a bit about moving our town entrance on the triangle. We did the traffic study, which recommended that location over the different locations. So the traffic engineers recommend that position. So the idea is that we would go ahead and follow their recommendations and adopt the thoroughfare plan. So if you guys don't know the way this works, so part of our master plan, one aspect of it is where the roads go. And what the city does is the city just dots lines in, so any developer that comes in is on notice that you and Mr. Developer are required to put this line in. You know, it doesn't have to go exactly where that is, but you're on notice that that road's on you. And Preston Road, you can't say, no, we're not going to extend Preston Road through our property. You got to do it anyway. So, but it's up to us to update the plan when situations change. So the way it is now, for instance, our current thoroughfare plan shows our entrance here where it is now, which means if this triangle developed today, we could not make them move the entrance. We would have to buy right-of-way and use eminent domain to do that. Now, I mean, that's how it works. You don't, you know, that's how it works. So this is just, we've now, through the engineers looked at three different places, Clint?
Yeah.
It was 3 different places. So, talking with Andy, this is the best thing to do. Update it now. You know where it's going. Update this now. Get it done. And that way it's on the record. Okay? So that is, that's what we are, that's what I'm asking. Now, the other part of this thoroughfare plan is the second, Clint, the drawing Linda made.
Was that the image that you said no?
Yeah, the image with the
cars.
So part of this is, I believe that when we leave town, and this is obviously El Dorado, this is Lakewood Village Drive, I think we need 2 lefts and 1 right. Assuming there's a stoplight here. Left is, so the advantage of having 2 lefts for us leaving is that minimizes the light time. So we're not backing up people on the bridge. And again, the traffic engineer could come back and say you only need 1 left turn, that's fine. But right now, we don't require anybody who owns that triangle to have, all they have to do is put 1 single lane out and 1 single lane in. And you can imagine how death that would. Imagine we had 1 lane where somebody turned left just sits there. So again, part of the plan is putting everybody on notice, this is what we want.
And you can
Yeah.
change later.
Yeah, if you convince the engineer that something else will do, that's fine, but right now, and if nothing happens, this is what you're obligated to put in. And this also includes a right turn lane on El Dorado. We know we need a decel lane on El Dorado. The 12-foot long one we currently have is clearly not working.
Yeah.
So this is part of the thoroughfare plan. Okay. Now, realistically, yeah, there'll probably be a median in the middle here. There'll be a little hump with some grass on it, you know, whatever. But, okay?
I don't know how to draw that.
You know how to draw the little aesthetic hump?
That's that.
Come on.
I think the important part is actually just drawing the number of lanes, because I mean,
Yeah.
technically it could be 2 right out, 2 left out. So having the correct number of lanes is flexible later.
Right.
And having 2 come in that actually allows for larger vehicles to swing in.
Right.
Feeling like you're gonna get taken out in their left turn, somebody coming in.
I agree. There's a lot of people that turn left. Knowing somebody who turned left for 5 years and 6 o'clock in the morning, there are a lot of people that leave left.
Well, you know,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, I just don't want to tie up El Dorado and gum up all the timing, you know, with us.
No, that's a clever solve to it. Just less stacking back inside the town. You get more.
Okay? Everybody good with that?
Do
Serena, you gonna make a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the amended thoroughfare plan.
I have a motion to adopt the amended thoroughfare plan. Eric's got the second. All those in favor? All right, thank you guys. Very good. All right, next is consideration of amendment of the consolidated fee ordinance. Okay, so real quickly, what this is, we have the fee ordinance, has all our fees in it. Since we're adopting the new garbage fees, the opportunity now is to amend the ordinance, any fees, okay? Since we're gonna do it anyway for the garbage. So one of the things that's come up is we have a meter set fee which pays for the meter, and we as the town, because it's our water line, we actually install water meters. We do not let the home builder put the water meter in, we do it. All the new development that comes in is going to be required to use remote read. We're not doing any more manuals. Everything's gonna be automated, where you can pull it up on the internet, you can read your own meter if you want to. We've already put one of these in Rocky Point, because we have somebody that has a lot of big dogs, and we couldn't read the meter, so we made them buy one of these. The trick here is that for the standard meter, the dumb meter, if you will, this is our standard fee right now, $3.90, which covers the meter and the install. The actual remote read meter is about $100 more for the electronics, the meter. Now, you can put a remote read meter in, they're still mechanical. You can still go and read them. So if for all new houses starting out now, we'll probably, even if it's in the middle of, like the empty lot next to you or whatever, across you, we're going to put remote reads in from now on. And then they'll just manually read them until we turn them on, if you will. But we need to update this fee, because the actual meters cost more than the meter set fee. So that's all this is, just, these are the two costs, and this makes us whole. We don't make any money on these. This just makes us even for the meter box, the electronics, the meter itself, and the installation and the curb stop. That makes us whole. Okay? So,
Just one minor textual thing. I think we always kind of refer to it as a meter set fee, but it's meter and set fee. Maybe we just
Parts and labor.
update the text while we're
okay.
doing it.
Oh, I think that's fine.
It's material and labor.
So, so I guess what we need to do is we need to amend the fee ordinance for the garbage rates. So what I'm asking is to amend the fee ordinance to include these rates along with the garbage rates. Does that make sense? Okay. We good? So what I need is a motion to amend the consolidated fee ordinance to adopt these fees and the new garbage rates, something like that. Make sense? Clint, you want to give it a shot? No? Eric's looking
Eric,
pretty.
I'll make a motion to amend the consolidated fee ordinance to incorporate the new garbage contract fees and the meter set fees for the remote read.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Daryl's got a second. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, I appreciate that. All right, last thing. This is something which I just want to get everybody up to speed on this. So one of the things that I have done is I've got a bunch of data from Mark Patterson. Which is I think these were up there. I think I put some copies up there. What this is now that the summer's over,